He was Dad to me. So he was. I knew he was special on the outside. Because of the rest of the world, you couldn't name a more iconic voice of the 20th century than Bing Crosby. His music defined an era. But behind the fame and fortune lurked a story far less harmonious. Whispers of family turmoil. Hidden struggles and painful secrets followed him long after the spotlight dimmed. Now at 65, his daughter finally breaks her silence, confirming the shocking rumors that have lingered for decades. Just how deep did the darkness run? Beneath the smooth melodies and Hollywood charm stay with us as we uncover the truth. Mary Crosby's Revelations. Mary Crosby's Revelations peel back the layers of her father's life, shedding light on the triumphs and struggles that defined one of America's most legendary voices. Bing Crosby's journey into the world of music began in the mid-1920s, a period that saw the birth of the Rhythm Boys, the trio that became the launching pad for his love of jazz. His unique blend of scat singing and smooth phrasing set him apart, capturing audiences with a sound that was both fresh and timeless. This was the foundation of his rise, the moment when his voice first took hold of the nation and refused to let go. By the early 1930s, Crosby had become a household name, a star whose influence extended far beyond the stage. His style was so distinctive that it gave rise to an entire wave of imitators. Perry Como, Dean Martin, and countless others sought to recreate what he had mastered, splitting the music world into two camps: those who emulated the high, carefree tones of Crosby's early years, and those who embodied his later, deeper resonance. It was a testament to his dominance proof that his voice had redefined popular music. But at the height of his success, fate intervened. A severe bout of laryngitis threatened to rob Crosby of the very thing that had made him a star. The strain on his vocal cords became evident in his early recordings, where an unmistakable hoarseness hinted at the trouble beneath the surface. Doctors warned him to rest, to let his voice heal. Instead, he drowned his worries in alcohol, a habit that only worsened his condition. The golden voice that had once soared with effortless highs began to shift, changing into something deeper, more deliberate. The mid-1930s marked a transformation gone with the playful, jazz-infused melodies that had first captivated audiences. In their place came emotionally charged ballads, songs that resonated on a national scale. Crosby, once the king of jazz improvisation, had become the voice of sentimentality, a singer whose music was now designed for mass appeal. Yet as his popularity surged, the pressures of fame seeped into his personal life. At the heart of his story was a love that seemed almost scripted for Hollywood itself. In 1929, fate led Crosby to Dixie Lee, a rising star at Fox Studios, whose radiance matched his own. The connection was immediate. And on September 29th, 1930, they married, embarking on a journey that would redefine both of their lives. Dixie, entranced by Crosby's charm, made a fateful decision to leave behind her own promising career and devote herself to building a family together. They created a sanctuary in Los Angeles, a sprawling estate on Toluca Lake that stretched across 4 lush acres. It was a world away from the flashing cameras and adoring crowds. A retreat where Crosby and Lee built a life steeped in warmth, love, and the quiet joys of domestic bliss. But their happiness was not without hardship. In December 1943, a fire tore through their beloved home, consuming 13 years of memories in a matter of hours. The New York Times later recounted the tragic night, detailing how a simple act, removing Christmas decorations, had set off an uncontrollable blaze. Flames devoured the estate, leaving behind only smoldering ruins. Crosby's most cherished possessions, his horse racing and golf trophies, his extensive collection of musical recordings were reduced to ash. The destruction was near total, yet even amidst the wreckage, a small miracle remained. As Crosby sifted through the debris, he stumbled upon a charred sports shoe in his dressing room. Inside, miraculously untouched by the fire, was $2,000 in race earnings. One final unlikely token of resilience in the face of devastation. But what shocking truth did Bingham Crosby's daughter finally reveal behind his legendary fame? Lay a hidden family sorrow one Hollywood never wanted you to see. Stay tuned, the untold realities behind Bingham Crosby's legacy. The rumors that were finally confirmed by Bing Crosby's daughter, Mary Crosby, requires a deeper dive into the life of the man himself. Hollywood's dazzling lights often hide the grim realities behind the curtain. And in Crosby's case, a haunting family sorrow remained carefully hidden beneath his polished public image as America's most cherished performer. His rise to stardom was legendary, but the struggles within his household painted a far more complex picture. Bing Crosby's journey began in the Pacific Northwest. Born Harry Lillies Crosby Jr. on May 3, 1903, in Tacoma, Washington. He was raised in Spokane after his family relocated in 1906 in search of better opportunities. His father, Harry Lowe Crosby, a bookkeeper, was originally from England, while his mother, Catherine Harrigan, was of Irish descent. The daughter of a builder from County Mayo, Bing was the fourth of 7 children, growing up in a house built by his father. From an early age, he was drawn to entertainment. At just 6 years old, he became fascinated with the Bingham Bugle, a humorous newspaper column. A neighbor, amused by his enthusiasm, began calling him Bingo, and soon the name was shortened to Bing, a nickname that would stay with him for life. Bing Crosby's journey into show business began in 1917 as a property boy at Spokane's Auditorium, where he witnessed legendary acts like Al Jolson. His love for music grew influenced by his father's early record player, though he excelled in public speaking and debate at Gonzaga University. Music was his true calling. Abandoning law school, he teamed up with pianist Al Rinker. Launching his career, success didn't come instantly. His jazz-age lifestyle made him unreliable, but his talent was undeniable. In 1926, a performance at Los Angeles Metropolitan Theater caught the eye of bandleader Paul Whitman. That December, Crosby and Rinker debuted at Chicago's Tivoli Theater, earning $150 a week. Soon after, songwriter Harry Barris joined them, forming the Rhythm Boys, performing alongside jazz greats like Hoagy Carmichael and the Dorsey Brothers. Bing's career skyrocketed in 1928 when he recorded a jazz-infused version of Old Man River, his first #1. His popularity eclipsed that of the Rhythm Boys, leading to tensions within the group. Eventually, they parted ways, and Crosby embarked on a solo career that would forever change the entertainment industry. By the early 1930s, Bing Crosby was one of America's most famous voices. With 10 of 1931's top 50 songs, his Hollywood breakthrough came in 1932, with The Big Broadcast, launching a decades-long film career. By 1936, he became hoster of the Kraft Music Hall, a role he held for 10 years. His smooth, intimate singing style revolutionized popular music, influencing legends like Frank Sinatra, Perry Como, and Elvis Presley. Unlike earlier singers who projected to fill venues, Crosby mastered the microphone, making music feel more personal during World War II. His voice comforted American troops, and his rendition of White Christmas became a timeless classic by 1948. Yank magazine named him the most admired man in America, outranking Jackie Robinson and Pope Pies. The 7th that year, Music Digest reported that over half of the 80,000 weekly hours of recorded music on U.S. radio featured his songs Beyond Music. Crosby was a tech pioneer, investing in the Ampex 200, the first U.S. commercial tape recorder, revolutionizing audio recording with editing and overdubbing. Despite his monumental success, Crosby's personal life was far more complicated. His marriage to actress and singer Dixie Lee was fraught with struggles, including alleged alcoholism and a strained family dynamic. Their 4 sons, Gary Philip Dennis and Lindsay, grew up under the weight of their father's expectations. In later years, stories surfaced, suggesting that Crosby was a strict disciplinarian, with reports ranging from firm parenting to allegations of emotional and physical abuse. His son Gary, in particular, later spoke out about the difficult childhood he endured. Dixie's death in 1952 marked a turning point in Crosby's life, though he later remarried. Actress Katharine Grant. The loss of his first wife had a lasting effect on him. His children especially, Dennis and Lindsay, struggle with their own demons, battling substance abuse and mental health challenges. Their stories painted a picture far removed from the public image of a happy Hollywood family. Despite his immense contributions to entertainment, Crosby remained an enigma those closest to him. Including his longtime friend Phil Harris, admitted that they never truly knew him. He was a private man, reluctant to reveal his personal struggles. Even as his fame reached unprecedented heights, the complexities of his life extended into his career as well. Though primarily known for his musical achievements, he proved his acting talent in films such as The Country Girl, where he portrayed a troubled, washed-up actor. The role defied expectations and earned him critical acclaim, silencing those who doubted his dramatic abilities. Yet behind the success and innovation, darker questions loomed. The cracks in the Crosby family grew wider over time, with his sons struggling under the weight of their father's legacy. The glamour of Hollywood could not erase the turmoil that existed behind closed doors. At 65, Bing Crosby's daughter has finally confirmed long-standing rumors. What secrets has she revealed? What truths lurk behind Hollywood's golden kroner? The truth is more shocking than you think. Stay tuned. Dixie Lee's silent struggle behind the spotlight. Dixie Lee, once a star in her own right, found herself caught in the shadows of a life that was not entirely her own. While her husband, Bing Crosby, ascended to unprecedented fame, Dixie's relationship with the limelight was far more complicated. Unlike Bing, who thrived under the adoration of millions, she never fully embraced the world of stardom. The dazzling stage and roaring applause did not bring her joy. They only intensified a deep, unshakable loneliness, according to Ben Crosby. Crooner of the century, her retreat from Hollywood was not just a sacrifice for her husband's career, but an escape from the discomfort of constant scrutiny. Though she possessed undeniable talent, the world of entertainment never truly felt like home to the public. She was the beautiful and talented actress who had willingly stepped aside for her husband's meteoric rise. But behind the glamorous facade, did she yearn for something far simpler? Love, reassurance, and warmth in his memoir, Going My Own Way. Gary Crosby described his mother as a woman who longed for affection, for the tender moments that were often absent in her marriage to Bing. Despite his public image as a devoted husband and father, Bing struggled to express his emotions, leaving Dixie adrift in a sea of longing. Alcohol soon became her solace, a refuge from the emptiness she could not escape. While Bing faced his own battles with alcohol, he managed to wrestle his demons into submission for Dixie. However, the fight was far more relentless her drinking, which at once seemed like a quiet escape, grew into a consuming force that cast a dark shadow over their home. As Mary Crosby later recounted their once peaceful household became a battleground, echoing with the silent suffering of a woman who could no longer find her way back. Dixie's descent into addiction was not sudden, but a slow unraveling, a quiet retreat into the clutches of alcohol that left her a mere fragment of the woman she once was. The vibrancy that had once captivated audiences was dulled, her laughter replaced by silent despair. Her struggle became a haunting presence in the lives of her children. The memories of their mothers sprawled lifelessly on the floor, lost in the grip of her affliction, left wounds that would never fully heal. The image of her in those moments, broken, unreachable, was seared into their souls. A painful reminder of a mother who had been swallowed whole by the very loneliness she had spent years trying to escape for Bing. The weight of her suffering lingered, a silent reminder of what had been lost for their twin sons, Dennis and Philip. The scars ran deep. Dixie's battle was not just her own. It was a wound that stretched across the entire family, shaping their lives in ways that could never be undone. The legacy of her struggle was one of sorrow, a tragedy that unfolded behind closed doors, far from the adoring eyes of the public. Bing Crosby's family under the shadow of fame. Bing Crosby's life was a tale of extraordinary success and personal struggles, and nowhere was this more evident than within his own family, a revelation uncovered in the documentary. United shed light on a painful truth. His twin sons, Daniel and Philip, suffered from fetal alcohol syndrome, a condition caused by exposure to alcohol during pregnancy. Their mother, Dixie Lee, battled alcoholism, and its devastating effects manifested in her children. Their distinct facial features, the shape of their skulls and noses, prompted concern from Robert Trachtenberg, the documentary's director seeking answers. He turned to specialists at the University of Southern California, USC, who confirmed his suspicions. The twins were textbook cases of the syndrome, a grim testament to the lasting impact of addiction. At the time, fetal alcohol syndrome was not well understood, leaving Bing and Dixie ill-prepared to deal with their son's unique challenges. This revelation cast a shadow over the Crosby household, exposing the unseen costs of fame addiction and neglect. Bing's rise to Hollywood's a list coincided with the formation of his family, creating a complex and often strained dynamic. As his career flourished, he was swept into a whirlwind of commitments, films, radio shows, and recording sessions that kept him away for long stretches. Dixie left to raise their 4 sons, largely on her own, struggled with the burden her battle with alcoholism only adding to the turmoil. In a candid 1977 interview with Barbara Walters, Bing acknowledged the toll of his relentless work ethic. He admitted that his absence during his children's formative years had lasting consequences. His sons were sent to boarding schools, raised in an environment where his presence was more financial than emotional. Despite his immense success, Bing harbored deep fears about the seductive nature of Hollywood. He worried that the trappings of wealth and celebrity would corrupt his children, pushing him to enforce a strict and often rigid household structure. His obsession with shielding them from fame's temptations led to an upbringing marked by discipline rather than warmth. This rigid approach created friction between Bing and his sons. Gary Crosby, the eldest, later recalled how his father's strictness was driven by an intense fear of raising Hollywood kids who might fall into the pitfalls of excess and entitlement. But rather than fostering resilience, Bing's methods fostered resentment. The gap between his aspirations for his children and their reality only deepened as they grew older. The very world he sought to protect them from became a source of division within the family, as being entered his second marriage with Catherine Grant. His approach to fatherhood changed, freed from the relentless pressures of his Hollywood prime. He found a renewed sense of engagement with his younger children. Nathaniel Crosby, his son from this later union, noted the difference. His father was more present, more involved, and less consumed by his career. With Catherine being embraced the joys of family life in a way he had not before, creating a stark contrast between his two families, even with his public image as America's beloved crooner Bing, was not immune to controversy, while many adored him. Others viewed him as an emblem of safe mainstream entertainment, an artist without the rebellious edge of his contemporaries. Yet his reputation remained largely untarnished until after his death in 1977, when his eldest son, Gary, released Going My Own Way. In 1983, the memoir shattered the carefully cultivated image of Bing Crosby as a loving patriarch. Gary's accusations of physical and emotional abuse painted a harsh picture, one that stood in stark contrast to the public's perception of the legendary entertainer, though some, including his son Philip, questioned the intensity of Gary's claims. The damage was done. The revelations sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, forever altering the way Bing Crosby was remembered. But what was life really like behind Hollywood's golden image? Was he a devoted father or a strict perfectionist? Stay tuned to uncover the truth. Mary Crosby's final thoughts, a daughter's tribute to the world. He was an icon to me. He was simply Dad, my hero, my friend. He taught me how to fish, how to hunt, how to throw a baseball with 6 sons. He made sure we all knew how to do the things fathers teach their children. But beyond the warmth of family life, there was the professional side of him too. I always believed that if my father could carry himself with such professionalism, then no one had an excuse. Not to our Christmas shows were never rehearsed in the way people might think we sang carols around the breakfast table, just as any family would, enjoying the music. But by the time we stepped onto the set, we knew every line, every note, and we were never late. He made it all feel effortless, made it fun. He knew he was a huge star. How could he not? But it wasn't the fame that mattered to him. It was what he could do with it. He was humble, never wanted to boast, and always believed in using his influence for something greater as his life neared its end. He spoke not of his chart-topping songs or sold-out performances, but of the work he had done for the troops, the war efforts he had supported. He had wanted to fight in the war, but fate had other plans. He was too young for the First World War and too old for the Second. That didn't stop him. He did what he could, raising money for war bonds, performing for soldiers overseas, visiting hospitals. But perhaps the most moving thing he did was write letters to the families of wounded soldiers, letters he kept close to his heart. We found them recently tucked away in the attic. My mother was sorting through old memorabilia when she discovered a box filled with them. Some had been returned their intended recipients, never making it home. Others were from families thanking him for bringing their loved ones a moment of joy. He had saved every single one. And then there was White Christmas. That song became something far bigger than any of us imagined. It was released in 1941, just after Pearl Harbor, and by 1942, it had become an anthem for soldiers longing for home. To me, it was my childhood. Every Christmas we sang it together, year after year. I don't have just one memory of it. There are too many snapshots of a life surrounded by music, by family, by him, but what untold stories lay hidden in those forgotten letters? A performer, a patriot. A father was his greatest gift, music or something. far deeper, share your thoughts below.